And then we'll do a last call if anyone wants to do public comment. There's just the little yellow slips that you need to fill out beforehand, so. All right, then I will call the meeting to order. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. If the students would lead us, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Kristen Cambenzi,
Here.
Jennifer Ray,
Here.
Jason Zadunik, Jennifer Cliff,
Here.
Cheryl Maddox Smith,
Here.
Cassidy Thomas,
Here.
Eric Smith.
Here.
Okay, I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I make a motion that we approve the agenda as presented. Second.
Okay, motion made by Mrs. Maddox Smith, support by Mrs. Cliff. All those in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mrs. Cambenzi, and thank you, Gray-Barrett, for hosting. Want to start off by giving our host and her team, Dr. Peterson, a chance to tell us a little bit about what's going on at Gray-Barrett.
Thank you for that opportunity. I have a little presentation here. I made it shorter than last year. Here we go. But before we get started, I want to give a shout out to our great custodians, Jared Hansen, Ron, and John for our setup this evening. They take great care of our building. And a big thank you to the staff here. It is a pleasure to be their leader. They are awesome. And believe it or not, I'm already in my third year as principal here. Time is going fast. But more importantly, I think I've shared before that I am the mom of a Gray-Barrett alum who is now a freshman at the high school. And I've said over and over, Isla started here after a lot of change in our family life, and she has just blossomed. And so I feel super thankful not only to be leading the students and staff here at Gray-Barrett, but to see my own daughter grow in this school system. And she was not too cool. On homecoming, she still let me take a selfie with her. So that was kind of fun. So that was fun. So there you go, little side note. Update on the school. We're at 293 students. I'm going to move this. And so there's Gray-Barrett by the numbers. Our enrollment is staying steady. We have a few more staff on hand, which is great. Overall, it's been a good start to the school year. Last year, when I had the honor to speak with you, I gave you an update on the strategic plan and all the areas and gave you a lot of information. And when I was reflecting, I'm like, oh, what should I present on this week? Gray-Barrett does have a building plan that is tied to the theme of social, emotional, and behavioral health. And I was going to go into all the details that are in that plan. And then I thought, let's have fun. I'm going to share with you what we do every Monday morning. We have Monday morning announcements on Google Meet. And we always had them in the past on our, intercom system, but we changed them to, we actually have a presentation and all the classrooms join in the morning, and one student a Monday is picked and helps lead the morning announcements, and it's kind of taken off. They really enjoy that. So today was Liam. He's a first grader, and he did a great job. And we say the Pledge of Allegiance together as a school, which is always nice. And then we start off with a little bit of mindfulness. We're still working hard on helping our students learn how to emotional regulation. And we have that also built into our behavioral expectations. So I remind the students that we are working on staying positive and practicing mindfulness to focus on our thoughts and manage emotions. And we updated all our expectation posters this year. We've got the nice Graverette and MAPS logo on there. And then, because it's important to be able to just pause, recognize how you're feeling. And so today I had the students, the helper, share how were they feeling, and they were feeling great this morning. And then we remind the kids, when you're having big feelings, remember, you can take a break, go to the calming corner. And so that's how we kind of start. And then we get into announcements, and we recognize the birthdays of the week. And they are announced, and then when we have new students, we announce them. And so we had 2 new students start last week, and so they are recognized. And our GPA is having a raffle right now. It's our big fundraiser of the year, and we're encouraging the kids to get their raffle tickets in so we can have a PJ and Stuffy Day next Tuesday. And the kids, they love those little graphics that move. We are also participating in the TV6 Canathon. And then it's really fun in morning announcements to be able to highlight students and the good things that are doing. And our Lego League started back up last year, and Mrs. Kruhawk is leading our Lego League team this weekend, actually, at Northern is the competition. And I just need to give a shout out to Mrs. Kruhawk because we do get a Lego League grant from, I believe it comes from the federal government or state. I don't know if it's state money or federal, but anyway, we get a grant. She got her stipend that she gets as a coach, that she then wrote a personal check and turned it back in to our Lego. I know, I need to acknowledge what an amazing staff that we have, because she's like, no, this is for kids. And so she really donates all her time for these kids to do the Lego League. So I don't know, I'm inspired every day by the staff and the students here. It was really nice after last week when we had conferences and it was a busy week to say, look at this week. We just have Lego League on Monday, and Thursday we have after school art. We have no interruptions to teaching and learning this week. A nice, normal week, which is great. Starting in January, we're going to have a Graverette school store, which the kids are excited about. They're going to be able to, their star tickets, they'll be able to get points or be able to buy things in the school store. So we are excited about that. And then every week we get into star behavior. And right now, I have a challenge going with the students. We are using EduClimber to manage and track our student behavior incidences. And I'm sharing this data with the students. So I want them to see, look in October, we had 42 behavior incidences. So they know if we can have less in November than we had in October. Right, that picture there, it's my cat Buttercream, which is kind of a famous cat. They are always asking me when Buttercream's gonna visit, and so this is the reward. Buttercream will visit if we can have less behavior infractions in November. And then I remind them, remember, the number one thing we need to do is follow our star behavior expectations. And then always reminding the students, when all feelings are okay, when you're having big feelings, remember to pause, take some deep breaths, go out to the calming corner or talk to a teacher or a friend. We're constantly giving students reminders of how to regulate their emotions. And then this is a really fun part of morning announcements. We recognize shining star behavior. And I congratulated the students last week at our Veterans Day flag ceremony. I had reminded them in the previous morning announcements that this is a very quiet, serious assembly. This is not an assembly where we are dancing and having fun. We are very respectful, and they did a great job. So recognized them today for their great behavior. And we had our Scholastic Book Fair last week and recognized Austin. He got his book and he got right to reading, and I love seeing students reading. And so probably every week I have a picture I snap when I see a kid just so, sometimes one day I had kids out at recess. 3 kids were sitting and reading outside at recess, and so they definitely made morning announcements. And then hats off to our first grade writers. They did past, present, and future writing, and it's great to see we have so many students who want to be teachers or bus drivers. And so nice, responsible writing. Our 4th grade classes are learning about the heart, and they did some great diagrams and posters last week. And then whenever our classes earn their class reward, I try to recognize that. So way to go, Mrs. Dion's class. Last Friday, they had a fort and pajama day. Or I don't think it was a full day, probably just, a little bit in the afternoon, but these activities are super rewarding. And then kindergarten started reading centers, and hats off to kindergarten. And they also did some writing with shaving cream. Our kindergarten teachers, they are special educators. It was a fun afternoon. And hats off to Mrs. Morrison's class. They had a guest speaker on archaeology, and the class was respectful and responsible. And then Mrs. Nicholas's class, they earned a class reward, and they got to go to 3rd Ohio Street Park. So every Monday, we recognize the students' positive behavior, because that's the #1 thing that we can do to shape and improve student behavior is recognizing the good stuff. And then I always give a thank you. I kid you not, every week I probably get a new drawing of Buttercream. She's famous. So I recognize Ella and Paige for their pictures of Buttercream they gave me last week. And then once a month, every teacher picks a student that they refer to the office for a positive Star Student Office referral. And the students who are referred, they get put in the drawing to be principal of the day and help with morning announcements. So these are the students that were recognized today. And kids, they love having their picture taken and being in morning announcements. And this was our October 27th Star students. When they earn a Star ticket, their name goes in a drawing. And every Monday, we pick their names out of a hat. And once a month, they get to have gym time and ice cream sandwich with me. That is super fun, very overstimulating in this gym. That's super fun. And so here are our Star ticket winners for today. Yes. They come on down. It is fun. And then I like ending every morning announcements we end, just in case no one has told you today, you are amazing and you are loved and you are capable of anything. And so, in closing, just thank you for the board and for your service and your dedication. Lots of great things happening, and it wouldn't be happening without your support and the work that you guys are doing. So thank you. See, short and sweet this year.
Mr. Landman, would you do me a favor and switch over to my presentation? I forgot to do that. My presentation does not have any pictures of cute cats, so Buttercream isn't going to make an appearance. I took some lessons from your slides for sure. I thought I was doing well with putting some pictures of cute kids in my presentation, but you're next level. Yeah, Buttercream's next level. So, yeah, if you could throw that and hit slideshow to put it in presentation mode. Top right, there's a big button that says slideshow.
The big button.
Yeah. There you go. Thank you. Okay, so we'll try to keep my presentation brief as well. I brought some of our team. This is becoming our regular facilities update. But part of the team that's here with us tonight, in addition to our internal staff, Travis Ongusto, IDI, Todd Soigren, and he was with Myron Construction, and Isaac Roberts with GEI. So representing 3 different firms that we work with as we go through this process. And this process has been very in-depth. I think we've been transparent all along the way, and I'm excited about this step that we're taking tonight following our last board meeting. At our last board meeting, the board, thank you board for your support as always, the board reached consensus on essentially a dollar figure for moving forward with facility planning potential bond proposal. And that dollar figure was 60 million. You'll hear me talk a little bit more about the 60 million, but once the board gave us that direction, we were able to move forward, our team mostly, with developing the scope. So tonight is all about the scope, and we need the scope for a meeting that we have with the Michigan Treasury on December 1st. So our goal tonight is to present the board a recommendation on that scope for that application or that meeting on December 1st. And once we have that application filed with the Michigan Treasury, now we really start moving fast into the new year, gearing up for a potential election. So, moving along, quick note on a timeline. I don't want to get too far into detail, but to give you some context, this presentation this evening is a result of really years of work. From the time I took over as superintendent and Mr. Lampman as assistant superintendent, we have been working on facilities. It was clearly apparent pretty much out of the gates that facilities was going to be a priority for us moving forward. So this timeline gives you some context for some of the steps that have happened most recently, starting with our internal assessments that were done with part of the team I mentioned already. And that was done a few years ago, but more recently, we also had a state of Michigan infrastructure study. That was in May, so much more recently. And the state of Michigan validated what we really had already determined on our own, with our own analysis, and that was roughly $100 million worth of critical infrastructure needs. We took that, we started making plans, identifying projects. We had already identified projects, but it really became prioritizing. What you don't see in the timeline is in the summer of 2025, that's when we started onboarding our construction manager. Myron released an RFP. The board ultimately in July selected Myron as our construction manager, which helped us propel things forward. And then continue to meet with the board. The board approved moving forward, not only with the construction manager, but with a survey. And we will hear, well, basically what we'll hear tonight is in large part a result of that survey. But we released that survey in September. We also surveyed our staff, and based on that survey, gave a presentation again at our October meeting, and that's where we got our scope, our $60 million scope. And that's why tonight we'll hear that number referenced multiple times. And I already talked about the fact that we had consensus and that we had, that we're gearing up for a PQ application. That's the Michigan Treasury part of the process. Okay, moving on. So, good news. We actually were able to sharpen the pencil a bit and get the $60 million number just a bit. We were also able to hit our target of 1.55 mils. This is again all talking about the scope, and that is exactly what was on the survey. So we're gearing up towards more specifics on what you're gonna see. I really wanna make mention though, that I think throughout this process we've not only been transparent, as I mentioned before, but we've also been very responsive to what we consider community-driven initiative. So when we saw that number, those numbers from the survey, we really took that to heart, and we used that to plan moving forward. You've heard me talk about some different frameworks for how we've prioritized our needs. And safety infrastructure and programming is one of them. I like to use Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I won't get into great detail this evening, but essentially Maslow, a psychologist, told us based on his research, kids are never going to reach their full potential if their basic needs aren't being met. Starting with physiological needs, we've given free food, free breakfast, ensured safe drinking water. We're working on ADA accessibility. And then you move up Maslow's. Again, these are potential barriers to their learning where they could reach their potential. Safety is such a key component of what we're doing with our infrastructure, and it will be as part of this potential bond. We've already done doors, PA systems, radios, maps, and various protocols to improve safety. But what you'll see in the scope, as probably Mr. Hongesto presents here in a bit, is even more security features as part of this potential bond. Infrastructure, you've heard me talk at length about. We have over 750,000 square feet of buildings. Our average age of buildings is 60 years old. Many of those spaces have not been updated at all. Our newest buildings are 30 years old. So just to give you an idea, we haven't updated many of our buildings in 30 or more years. As you look around this gymnasium, you can see things that are original. And this building, I'll just throw out the 30s, I forget exactly what year it is. We're getting in the 100-year mark, close to the 100-year mark on this building in particular, and there's still some things that haven't necessarily been updated. So that aging infrastructure is certainly a potential barrier to students' learning. When you think about Maslow's hierarchy of learning, you move not just from the typical infrastructure, roofs and parking lots and HVAC systems, electrical systems, which are certainly part of this proposal, but as you move up higher, Maslow's hierarchy, you think about additional barriers that you may not think about when you think about infrastructure. You get into some of the things that I really want to highlight in this presentation, and that's the programming. Not just academics. Academics is certainly part of the infrastructure improvements that we're targeting. Think about technology, how much that's changed. Anywhere from, again, academics, of course, in the classroom, from the floor to the ceiling, and then you move to the arts and athletics. And there's projects in here that I'm excited about that target each of those areas, particularly at Bothwell in the high school, where you see many of our art facilities. Think about Kaufman Auditorium in this building that's targeted in this bond proposal. And then moving on to athletics, of course, there's some very tired facilities in our district related to athletics. High school in Bothwell, you'll hear here in a little bit, our targets, our priorities for this proposal, for this scope that we're discussing, and athletics is certainly going to be part of that. But again, moving up Maslow's hierarchy of needs, students reaching self-actualization. I like to think about infrastructure not just as bricks and mortar. We have solid facilities. I don't want people to be misled to think that there's something wrong with our facilities. The brick and mortar, the structures are solid. They're just outdated, they're tight. So we just need to update our spaces. But again, thinking about career technical education, thinking about music and the arts, and a variety of programming that needs spaces that are more modern, that are more conducive to best practice. And that's all gonna be included in what you hear about tonight, and hopefully hear about or see on a ballot in May 2026. Not too many more slides from me. I'm going to keep my presentation brief today. This is giving you another visual of, I guess, the proposal, the scope. This one, we're talking more about the money, the financials. I mentioned the 1.55 mil increase. If you look at the graph, what you see in red, and maybe hard to read from your seats, that's our current levy, how much we currently levy, 1.31 mils. That's our current bond, which is about 0.38 mils, and also sinking fund that we have in place. You add 1.55 increase, and you're at about 2.86. We're approximating conservatively about 2.9 mils in total. Even at 2.9 mils, what you see on that chart, that's still going to be less than many of our neighboring districts. And what you don't see on the chart is a state average. If you were to imagine a horizontal line right about 4.5 mils, we still would be far below that state average, even with a 1.55 mil increase. Just a couple more items when it comes to finances. We're also going to be looking at borrowing in series. We're trying to actually get the term, the number of years on the note less than 30, and you can see there we're getting right around 28 years, so we're taking a couple years off of that 30-year number mark that we were starting with. That's going to save money in interest, of course. It'll also allow us to refinance in approximately 10 years if we decide to go that route to try to levy or to try to capture some more revenue to deal with our facilities. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Travis Hongesto, who has been really the key architect, and that's a bad pun because he is an architect, behind developing the scope that you're gonna see, really behind the ballot language in May. So Mr. Hoggestow, if you wanna take over for a little while, and then I'll close this up. Mr. Soyburn is also gonna have a little piece here too.
Good evening. I appreciate your time again. The overall bond scope that we've kind of worked through the community meetings and the survey is a larger document, but I want to try and hit the highlights for this presentation. So, as Mr. Sedgwick has said, Bothwell is really one that gets a large majority of the funding that would come through that. There's a lot that really needs to be done at the middle school. You can see, just kind of hitting some of the highlights, looking at a building addition over there. One of the major components of that project is really reworking and reconfiguring that second floor. The layout of that space right now is not conducive to good education in general. With that, being able to do that building addition to that facility will allow that reconfiguration as well as phasing from a construction standpoint. Looking again with the academic arts and athletics, putting some dollars into the CTE program. The shop area there is very dated. Locker rooms are very difficult disrepair. And then also looking at kind of band and arts and those rooms as well. With going through the rest of it, kind of hitting a lot of ADA, kind of district-wide, looking at restrooms, bringing all the facilities up to date, looking at, this is one of the few facilities that still needs the PA replacement or PA installation here. So the sinking fund has paid for the majority of those facilities to be done already with the new PA system. Window replacement and exterior facade upgrades, which will address some energy efficiency and kind of bring that the facade up to a little more modern times a bit. But the windows there are just single pane windows. Redoing that entire second floor at Bothwell, now is the time to do that. Otherwise, we're not going to go back and do that at a later date and then be reworking some of the projects some of the construction that we would be doing with this work. LED lighting, again, is a district-wide piece from energy efficiency. That's one of those pieces that you really get payback quickly on just from overall costs long-term. Technology and classroom furnishings, again, is district-wide as well. So, and you can see each of the slides. You can see from an overall funding standpoint, kind of the percentage, just to kind of give an idea of what the overall project cost would be for each building. Senior high, again, looking at the CTE wing there is definitely has some major needs. Press box, the football field is in extreme need of being replaced. So, as are the locker rooms, I know that those are in they're very bad shape. Everything as Mr. Sedgwick said, there's a lot of original parts and pieces throughout the district, majority of it. Band, music, and arts, again, some cafeteria and media center upgrades, providing some more collaborative learning areas in the media center versus most of the districts that we've redone, the original libraries and that sort of thing. It's just not typically how they're used anymore, so we can really look at reworking that space. And again, kind of coming in, the upgrades, ADA, building infrastructure. The high school is in major needs with sanitary, plumbing lines, electrical, so the infrastructure in general is, again, extremely dated. LED lighting, technology and classrooms, again, those common points. Graverette, I'd say Graverette and Standing Wall here are probably the two elementary schools that are in the most need from a standpoint of being updated, renovated. Kaufman Auditorium, gem obviously within the city, getting some upgrades there. Classroom renovations for the entire building, looking at all of those. And I would say with any of the classroom renovations that you see on here, being able to hit security with new door hardware and those locking type mechanisms are something that obviously it's changing. Every day there's new stuff that comes out for it, but keeping up with that and making sure that we're doing what's best for the kids and the staff. Heating and ventilation again here. Again, you can see just with the ages of the buildings, there's a lot of repeat items, but it's really because it hasn't been done. So LED, technology infrastructure, classroom furnishings, and then this is one of the elementaries with some playground needs here as well. So Sandy Knoll, one of those, again, kind of looking at some art room improvements, the classroom renovations over there again for that entire building. And then continuing on with you can see the recurring theme here as well. So the electrical system over there has some great needs as well. And then again, some playground, classroom furnishings and technology. So. Alternative High School, looking to be able to bring in the program that they've got running over there right now has been extremely successful. We've got some projects that we've done recently over there as well, but looking at being able to give an overhaul of their heating and ventilation, creating some space over there to meet some of their program needs better, and then again hitting those typical items as you go down into the upgrades list. Any questions along the way? It's probably kind of late to say that, but let me know. Cherry Creek and Superior Hills, again, kind of, I know they're still considered the new buildings, but they are, basically, they're 30 years old now. So they're still, as time goes on, there's going to be continued needs to be putting dollars into the facilities. But for this project, really hitting some of the exterior doors here, LED lighting, and then the typical parts and pieces that we've been seeing at the other facilities. There's a lot that you can do from a teaching environments with new furnishings in the classrooms. And Superior Hills, again, you can kind of see with as we go down the list, they are from a percentage standpoint on the lower end right now, but we're really needing to get the rest of the facilities up to date. With that, I will turn it over to Todd. Thankfully, because I can't see that.
I don't know if anybody can see that. All right, I'll just summarize a little bit what Travis just went through. We kind of group things into 4 categories: safety and security. I think Mr. Maslov called Zach himself and says, "You got some work to do here, buddies." We got a lot of things, especially ADA-wise. I think other than Cherry Creek and Superior Hills, every building was built before the ADA laws came into effect, so there's a lot of bathroom upgrades, things like that, and taken care of in those. The red area is infrastructure, as they talked about earlier, mechanical systems, electrical systems. Pretty much every school other than the 2 newer elementaries are doing some significant mechanical electrical system upgrades, IT infrastructure upgrades. Classrooms are getting a lot of cosmetic fixes, replacing flooring that's way out of date, ceilings, lighting systems to get us up to current code, and also energy efficiency. And then the second from the right is educational programming. That's basically art rooms, classrooms. I think Buffalo's getting some new classrooms in there. Auditorium upgrades here. And then on the far right, everything that doesn't fit in another box, which is basically playgrounds at the elementary schools. And then as you mentioned earlier, the press box at the high school. Just summarized everything into a pie chart here to give you an idea, visual idea of how the money's being spent. Obviously, Bothwell is got the biggest chunk of the pie, and then Black there, and then the high school is second behind that. And then the other schools fill up the space. That's really all I've got. Zach, do you want to wrap it up? Sure.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hongestow, Mr. Soybrun. Appreciate your help. I should probably mention, as part of our team, we also have legal counsel and financial advisors that help us hit all the technical requirements of the process. And there are some steps here that are beyond my skill set. And I mentioned already Michigan Treasury being one of them. So that date again coming up, I'm just going to summarize here and close this down. But that date is December 1st that we're gearing up for. Again, very excited to meet with Michigan Treasury. That's our pre-qualified bond meeting, if you will. I don't know if I said that right, close enough, right? And by going to the Michigan Treasury, we're going to get a better interest rate. I'll call it a more secure loan, and I think that's going to be a win for MAPS. That the Board of Education will be approving that, hopefully approving or considering approval of that PQ application on our meeting or at our meeting on December 8th. And then come January is when we will present a potential resolution for the board's consideration. January 12th is when they'll consider a resolution, and that's the actual ballot language that we would see in May 5th. To be exact, of 2026 is the date that we're targeting. So again, in closing, I just want to re-emphasize a few points that we've made. First, I really feel like we've been very transparent through this entire process. From the inception, consideration of any type of bond increase, doing thorough analysis, bringing experts onto our team, and certainly the Board of Education for their leadership and support for the every step, the entire bond proposal process. It's been community driven. I want to say one more time, we listened to you, community. We listened to the survey results, and that's what drove this scope. Not only the dollar amount and the mill amount, but also the prioritized projects within that survey. And there were 6 different options within the survey that we developed based on our original analysis. But when we heard back from the community, that's what we went with moving forward for the scope, with the board's support, of course. Again, hitting safety, security, our aging infrastructure, and also better programming for our kids so that we can help them reach that self-actualization, that highest level of achievement. Fiscal responsibility, I know our community appreciates fiscal responsibility. We made mention of a couple points regarding fiscal responsibility. Obviously a lower mill rate, which is going to be less dollars, tax dollars for our community. That's huge. And also the way we've structured the loan so that we're going to pay less interest over time and have more money, more capital to work with along the way. And the last point I want to make that you don't see on this slide, because I'm actually ahead of the presentation, is that last point on this slide in bold. Every building, every student. I talked about hearing the community. We really made an effort in this proposal, in this scope, to make sure every building was provided support, provided funding, every building was provided resources, ultimately that every student was provided a better infrastructure, better building to learn in, and that was our end goal from the beginning, and it continues to be as we move forward. And we're not just saying it because it sounds nice. Every building, every student is in fact what we're doing here with this scope. So at that, I'm going to turn it back over to Mrs. Cambenzi, and then later in the meeting, the board will consider our proposal. Should give you a chance to ask questions though. I have the team up here. Is there any questions for anybody here while we're all at the podium?
Just quickly wanted to say thank you. As an English teacher, I know more about infrastructure in large schools than I ever anticipated knowing in my entire life over the last 12 to 6 months. So thank you so much to everybody up there for being so communicative so that we could answer community members' questions and take it to the community. Appreciate it.
Last chance.
Students, do you have any questions?
Yeah, girls.
I guess what I was wondering, when you went over the high school's improvements, what is a media center?
Library.
Oh, okay.
Yes, good question. And it can be much improved. I'm in there often.
And then the nanotarium, which is a very fancy word, sounds very Greek, and I don't know, I'm thinking about like people in togas running around. Is that the pool?
That is the pool.
Ah,
Yes.
yeah, isn't that fun? Very fancy.
Learn something new every
I was
morning.
like, oh my God, we're hosting the Olympics, this is exciting.
Girls, anything else? Okay. Would you agree that the high school could use some love? Yes. Thank you for that plug. Feel free to share. All right, thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Moving on to approving the consent agenda, which includes the minutes of the regular board meeting of October 13th, 2025, minutes of the special meeting of November 12th, 2025, minutes of the closed session of November 12th, 2025, the personnel report dated November 2025, the financial reports of October 2025.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Support.
Okay, motion made by Mrs. Clip, support by Mr. Smith. All those in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to the student school board representatives report.
All right, so for academics, we just began the second quarter on last Monday. Progress reports have been sent home and parent-teacher conferences for that quarter just took place. Additionally, sophomores and juniors took the NMSQT and we just got our scores back for that. For arts, Hadestown was a great success. Today I heard many of my teachers just talking about how great it was and how many people were there. On December 3rd, we have an entire MAPS orchestra concert at 6:30, MSHS band concert on December 4th at 6:30, and a choir concert on December 8th.
All right, and then some things that student council have been focusing on. Recently, the two of us, Eleanor and I, led a tour and an informational presentation that Mr. Sedgwick was also a part of for a group of 12 from the Finnish delegation, our sister city exchange. They were like super interested in the differences between our school district and especially the high school compared to their teaching experiences back in Finland. They were like the planetarium, health occupations, and the CTE programs. Additionally, the student council held the first annual staff versus varsity volleyball charity game, which admissions cost either $2 cash donation to the local veterans or a can donation for the Canathon. And we did raise $200 in cash donations, and that check is being presented to the Legion tonight at the Meet the Sentinels, which is my other update for the athletics. Tonight, all winter sports athletes are meeting in the gym to go over the expectations and the athletics handbook. And then Friday, November 21st, the executive board of student council at the high school will be meeting with our representative Carl Bonak to present and discuss the student opinion and feedback that we've received on cell phone usage in schools. Recently we did a survey in our advisory program and collected student feedback that we are going to use to create a student report similar to how we did with the e-bike task force for the city commission. So yeah, thanks.
Thank you so much. Comments from the public? I have none. Moving on to new business. Consider approving recommended scope for the Michigan Treasury PQ application. So is that another one where we just kind of need to have consensus to move forward with the 1.55?
Well, consensus is fine, but we actually would certainly appreciate if the board would consider approving the scope. The scope in its entirety is in the packet. If you want to look at what Mr. Hongasto and I and Mr. Soyberan presented in more detail, it's in the packet. But if the board were to be interested, that approving that scope would be helpful.
Okay, so I would entertain a motion to approve the recommended scope as presented for the Michigan Treasury PQ application.
I'll make a motion to accept the scope with Michigan Treasury PQ application as presented this evening.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Ms. Ray, support by Mrs. Klipp. Do we have any further comments or questions? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Consider adoption of the resolution C, decline opt-in waiver conditions unless it's eliminated or modified. So I believe this is regarding
31AA. If you want, I can give the board just a little more context. MAPS applies for a number of grants, mostly state grants, for all matters of school functioning. 31AA is targeting mental health and safety, two key areas that you heard about tonight. 31AA grant dollars helped us pay for many of the improvements that we presented, such as the PA systems that Mr. Hongasto alluded to. So in this latest round of 31AA funding, there were some requirements that we haven't seen before and to present the district a number of challenges. And unfortunately, those challenges are significant enough so as to warrant consideration of declining the grant and actually approving a modified resolution directing me to apply for the grant were they to remove those requirements. But those requirements really are infringing on the district's core legal rights, most notably attorney-client privilege. And our attorney met with our board, some of our board members recently, and I think based on their legal counsel, it's advisable for us to consider this modified resolution so as to only accept the grant dollars or apply for the grant were they to waive those requirements.
The superintendent said this is not a one-off. We are by no means alone in this particular decision-making and the decision or the recommendation by the attorney. Districts all over the state of Michigan are choosing to take the same route. Is that correct?
That is definitely the case. This is a hot topic throughout the state of Michigan, and pretty much every district that I'm in network with has the same concerns, and many of them are following the same course that I'm recommending tonight.
Thank you.
So I would entertain a motion to adopt the resolution as presented regarding the 31AA.
I'll move that we adopt the modified 31A resolution as presented by the district.
Support. Okay, motion made by Mr. Smith, support by Mrs. Maddox Smith. Any further comments or questions? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Consider approval of the October 13, 2025 truant policy update.
There's not much here. Mrs. Hopper has a better understanding, but really it's a matter of some language changes, not much to report, but this is just a update that we received from Trune that we typically approve these updates periodically as they come in.
As you can see in the policy summary, the policy 3118 is just being updated to be consistent with the FBI's updated definition of sexual assault.
Okay, so I would entertain a motion to approve the October 13, 2025 truant policy update.
I'll move that we adopt the updated policies presented by Trune
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Smith, support by Mrs. Clip. Any further comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, moving on to gifts and bequests. Donation from the Kaufman Foundation of $5,000 for Coats for Kids program. A donation from JP Electric for $5,000 also for Coats for Kids program. That's amazing. That is amazing. Moving on to board member comments. We'll start with Mr. Smith.
I have two items. First, I'd like to thank both the Kaufman Foundation and JP Electric for their contribution. We sometimes lose track of how significant it is to take care of the physical needs of our students. And for these two groups to step forward like they have is a huge investment in the future of our students here. And I just want it publicly known that we appreciate their efforts in that regard. The other comment I have regarding the presentation we heard earlier about the proposed bond that the district is considering. I've been involved in a number of projects over my career, and sometimes we don't often see the level and depth of planning that we're being presented with this evening. And I'd like to go on record as thanking our superintendent and our consultants for the detail that they're providing, not only this board, but also the public. It's important as we consider voting on this that we understand not only what the benefits are in terms of the improved facilities, but the impact that those improved facilities and programs will have on the education of our students. Strong communities are built on a strong education system, and it's critical for Marquette, especially as we move forward with all of the improvements that we're seeing in some of the facilities around the community, that our schools follow suit. So I'm grateful that we have the information that we can present to the voters so they understand exactly what they would be supporting if they were to vote for this bond, if it were to be placed on the ballot in May.
Thank you. Ms. Thomas?
Thank you to Dr. Peterson for your presentation. Thank you to Fairback for hosting us today. Like Eric said, I'm thankful that our community chose to take the survey and help us to understand kind of what our community is willing to give in order to meet our school's needs. And I look forward to seeing how they support us at an election in May. I'd like to also thank, of course, Mr. Sedgwick and the speakers from IDI and Myron, as well as GD. Our student representatives, of course, thank you for the updates, and thank you to the Kaufman Foundation and JP Electric for your generous donations.
Thank you. Mrs. Maddox-Smith?
Echoing everybody here, it's hard to add to that, but thank you for Grave Rat for having us and giving us a glimpse into your day. That was pretty cool. I loved your Monday updates, and I don't think anybody can compete with buttercream. I think you should have had buttercream here today. Just my thoughts. So thank you for your presentation. Again, the work that goes into this potential bond proposal is immense, and I think that the people that we have working with us and giving us information and the transparency is enormous. And I just want to thank everybody, the guys that you saw walking out. So much time and energy put into this, and it really is every school, every child maximizing their potential. There's just nothing more important than that. And as Eric commented, better schools, better community, it just makes sense. Thanks to our student reps. I love hearing what's going on, and I love how active you guys are being. Especially meeting with our representative, Carl Bonak, and just getting involved just future leaders. I just really appreciate you guys being here.
Thank you. Mrs. Clip?
Echoing everything else that has been said, particularly regarding IDI, GEI, Myron, and Superintendent Sedgwick's expertise and leadership in helping us really concretize a very large elephant into manageable bites. Very much appreciated. Students, again, I always say it, but you guys are the highlight for me. Always, thanks for clarity of boots on the ground on kind of what's happening, because we just don't know. So you guys are great, and keep leading. Dr. Peterson and Graverette, this is where my daughter went to school, and she was here, I guess, maybe last week or the week before, volunteering with a class, and so we started talking about Graverette, really living just a couple blocks away. She was the first class when this reopened. She was in kindergarten. And I said to her, so who was your favorite teacher? And she said she got quiet. She's sassy and she's never quiet, so I knew she was thinking. I don't know that I have a favorite. They were all great. But she said, Miss Gerard and Miss Morrison were the ones I remember learning the most from. So, Miss Gerard, I see you. I am forever grateful to you, and I don't know how you managed her back in 3rd grade, because I'm having a hard time when she's 17, that's for sure. Anyways, thank you for making this building truly one of the, I could not have asked for a better elementary experience for my child. And I know she feels the same way. You guys are very, very special. Please pass that along to your staff. Thank you from me.
Thank you. Ms. Bird?
So in a time when we all need community and we see our community stepping up, it's just on so many different levels, really is what we all need and what our community is clearly all about. Thank you for the presentation. And our schools, as we all know, are amazing, and they're just going to be better once we get this bond passed. Just listening to all the different ways that people are helping our community, and particularly in their support of this bond. But the fact that the Kaufmans and JP Electric have acknowledged the needs in our community, the fact that our students are doing a can-a-thon, as is everybody across the board right now, you know, this is, again, what our community is all about. So I am super excited that our community is wanting and willing, from what I hear and what the survey has said, to support this bond. It's only 60% of what we really need, but it's a starting point. And for me, that is where we need to go. We need a starting point, and then to build upon that, because there will be continued needs. I am appreciative of the team, and I've been meeting weekly with all of them, and they are amazing. And for them to bring the scope down and drill into it again and again and again, they've really kind of dialed it in to a place where I think the most important things are going to be hit. And again, for me, this is just a starting point, because I think we will engage the community with more, because nothing's more important than our students. So I just am really encouraged by this entire meeting and all that you are doing in this school right here, and what we're going to be able to do to improve our schools. So I love being a part of this community. It's pretty amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. Board President comments. Thank you so much for having us here at Graverette. This was my middle school back in the day. Yeah, and we still have a Graverette Middle School sign up there, so.
Oh my gosh.
So I did get a kick out of that. So no, it's always great to be back in this building. Thank you, students, for your report. And yes, thank you for everyone that has put in so much hard work into the bond and everything. It's been a baby beast, and, you know, thank you so much for all your time and effort. And it's to the Kaufman Foundation and JP Electric for their generous donations for the Coats for Kids. Moving on to announcements and other meetings. November 26th through 28th, Thanksgiving holiday, no school. November 27th, Turkey Trot. December 2nd, the Bothell Middle School Band Winter Concert at Kaufman Auditorium at 6:30. December 3rd, All Maps Orchestra Winter Concert, also at Kaufman Auditorium at 6:30. December 4th, MSHS Bands Winter Concert at Kaufman at 6:30. December 6th, the MSHS Holiday Dance. And December 8th will be a board meeting at the Superior Hills Library at 5:30. And I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second. Motion made by Ms. Thomas, supported by Mrs. Clip. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.